Hello and welcome, Inspired Podcast community. This is your new episode. My name is Caroline, and my today's guest is Rhonda Britten. And I'm so happy that she said yes to our interview. How are you doing today?
I am so excited because I have sunny skies and the air is clear and life is good.
It is. Life is good. Life is good to us. And I would like to introduce you to the audience, of course. You are a best selling author, Emmy winning TV personality, and founder of the Fearless Living Institute. You have spent nearly 30 years helping people break through fear. With over 600 reality TV episodes, best selling books, and hundreds of media appearances, you are recognized as an expert in personal transformation, fearless leadership, and life coaching. Welcome to the Inspired Podcast. Wow, Rhonda Britten.
Thank you, Caroline.
This is so great to meet you, of course. And my first question is, looking back, how did your own personal journey with trauma and resilience shape your fearless approach to life?
Oh my gosh, it created it. So I believe that the worst days of our lives, the worst days of our lives, where we think like, oh my God, my life is over, actually contain our seed of destiny. So my worst day of my life, I'll make it short, is I was 14 years old and I grew up in a little tiny town in Upper Michigan. It has 300 inches of snow a year plus, so way up north in the United States. And we had two restaurants, the fancy Douglas House Hotel and Big Boy. We didn't have any fast foods or anything like that. And my parents were in the middle of getting separated, and it was Father's Day, and my father was coming to take us out to brunch. So my mom and I were in her bedroom. She's fluffing up her beehive hairdo and putting on her blue eyeshadow and her rose-colored lipstick. And my sisters are fighting it out in the bathroom. And me and my mom start walking out, and it's starting to sprinkle. And my dad goes, he has got a coat from the car. And this coat is a tan Naga hide leisure suit coat, which is very hot back in the day. And as he opens his trunk, I notice he hasn't grabbed a coat, but he's grabbed a gun, and he starts yelling at my mother, "You made me do this. You made me do this." And he fires. And I start yelling, "What are you doing, Dad? What are you doing?" And he cocks the gun. And I think I'm next. And he blinks and I blink and I blink and he blinks. And then my mother, with her last breath, literally screams out, "No, don't." And my father takes that bullet intended for me and shoots my mother a second time. And that second bullet goes in her abdomen, out her back, lands in the car horn. And for the next 20 minutes, all I hear is, "Eh." And then my father takes the gun, cocks it one more time, puts it to his head, and fires. Now, in a matter of less than 2 minutes, I was a sole witness of watching my father murder my mother and commit suicide in front of me. So let's call that trauma. Let's call that trauma, right? And in that moment, and I think this is true for so many people, that I split into 2, the outside Rhonda and the inside Rhonda. The outside Rhonda was, I'm fine, I'm fine, nothing's wrong, I'm fine, right? And then the inside Rhonda, I blamed myself. It's my fault. My mother's dead. And if you don't save your mother because you did nothing heroic, you didn't kick your father's shins, you didn't grab the gun, you didn't jump in front of your mother, you don't get to be happy ever again. So I basically faked my way through life for almost 20 years. And I became an alcoholic. I got 3 DUIs. I tried to kill myself 3 times. And it was that third suicide attempt that I realized I'm not very good at killing myself and I got to figure something out because this isn't working. Now, I want to just say on my behalf that during those years of, self-hatred and self-struggle, I was also doing everything I could to help myself. I was going to therapy, I was taking workshops, I was reading books, I was doing everything you could possibly do to try to heal yourself. But the problem is no matter what I did, I got tools, I got knowledge, but I still had this overwhelming feeling that there was something wrong with me. Like maybe I'm just too broken. Maybe I have too much damage, right? There's something wrong with me. And so when had that third suicide attempt, by the way, they do put you in a psychiatric ward to double check to see if you're crazy, deemed me not crazy, let me out of that psychiatric ward, went home, and realized if I'm not dying, I've got to figure out how to live. I've got to figure this out. So I said to myself, what do kindergartners do? What do 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds do? How do they start? How do they do this? And I remembered that kindergartners use gold stars and a calendar. So I went to the store, got some gold stars, got a calendar, and every day for the next 30 days, I gave myself a gold star for any time I did anything positive. And I'm talking about getting angry and not breaking something like, yay, me, look at me, I got angry, didn't break something, I'm amazing, right? So I gave myself, and at the end of 30 days, I had a calendar with gold stars, and that gave me hope. And and that journey of 20 years, that journey of then forgiving my parents, forgiving myself, forgiving my father, forgiving my mother, then forgiving me, all of that entire journey of attempting to free myself, I thought it was freeing myself from the trauma. I thought it was freeing myself from my father. I thought it was freeing myself from the past, which, of course, on one level it was. But really, what it was is freeing myself from fear. And I grew up not, I mean, I never said I was afraid. I mean, if you would have asked me during those 20 years if I was afraid, I would have said no. I had no understanding that this was fear operating. I just thought that I was screwed up or lost or broken, or right, that I there was something wrong with me. But it was only after I really started understanding fear that my life was set free, and I realized there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me. It's just fear. And I didn't know how to work with it. I didn't know what it really was. I didn't know how it operated in the world. And so I became a student of fear. And that is what I believe is at the crux of our human reality, which is when people are doing things that they say they don't want to do, when they're not doing the things they say they want to do, right? That's fear stopping them. Their procrastination, their people pleasing, their overwhelm, their anxiety, their judgment, their betrayal, their, et cetera, et cetera. That all stems from fear. So once you understand how fear works, you literally shift your perception of the world. So I do believe that that day, many years ago, where my father took that gun and shot my mother and himself, on some level was the beginning of the journey of me discovering that even my father killed from fear and my mother stayed for too long because she was afraid.
Wow. I understand, even though I don't understand, I cannot understand. I feel compassion, empathy, of course, everything you said. Wow, I could literally see it, the scene, and you preparing for going out to it was Father's Day, right? And then
Yes, yes,
it happened. Wow, it is, and then it turned out, and you took so many years working on yourself, not realizing it was fear-based. And I
yes.
heard someone saying to me, that fear we cannot create fear, we don't create fear. What do you think about that?
Well, fear is part and parcel of who we are. It's part of our neurobiology. But we do create fear when we indulge fear, right? We just, I don't want to say we create it from its source, but we continue to indulge it, right? We continue to indulge fear. So fear is part of our neurobiology. So there's no getting rid of it. There's no quote unquote creating it in the sense of like, I am now going to become fearful. No, fear comes upon us. It's an automatic response. So unless we make a different choice, unless we really decide, literally make a choice, which by the way will bring up fear too, right? When we make a choice and make a decision like, I am going to do this dream, I am going to go for this goal, then everything unlike that will come to the surface. All those fears of who am I to do that? Who do I think I am? Right? How can I do that? Right? All the questions, all the like, well, I'm going to prove to you that I can't do it. And then, we want to prove to ourselves that we can do it. So we have that, that push and pull of fear. But fear is part of how we're made up. It's literally part of ourselves. So once you understand the mechanism of fear and how it operates, then it won't trick you because right now, too many people are tricked by fear and they think it's reality. They think that's the truth, right? They think that because that's how they're seeing the world. That's how I saw the world for 20 years, right? After my parents died. So that's normal. And then we, you know, read about things in the world and then we get more fearful, right? And then we don't trust our intuition. We don't trust ourselves. We don't know how to trust ourselves, especially if we've had trauma. Um, my whole upbringing was don't trust yourself. So learning how to trust myself was a key component of my resilience. And that's a key component of me being fearless. So Yeah, so fear is not necessarily um, created out of thin air. It's actually part of our neurobiology. So, can people create fear in you? Yeah, they can. Yeah, they can trigger it within us. Yeah, they can. So that's what's happening in many of our countries today is fear is being activated. But it is not, it's not that they're creating it in us, it's igniting it from us.
Okay. Thank you so much. I was thinking about when you talked about what we see, how we see the world, how we perceive it, that it is a choice as well, and that we confirm, we search
That's right.
confirmation out there, and this is what we see then.
That's right. That's right. Neuroscience tells us that the only way that we can truly change our lives is by changing our perception.
Mhm.
So instead of seeing our lives in the world through a fear lens, I like to support people in seeing it through a freedom lens. Like, what does it really mean to be free? Like, really free, having your own mind, being able to have thoughts, without them being put upon by our, what I call the wheel of fear, but really being able to choose what is right for us, being able to listen to our intuition, being able to trust ourselves, being able to surrender, being able to be joyful, being able to feel alive, right? Being able to thrive. Those are all freedom acts, right? Those are all places for us to be fearless. So, but most of us, because we cling to safety, out of a need, by the way, just like I clung to safety for a long time, because how can I trust myself and, look at my life and look what happened to me? I mean, the world isn't safe. So I had to learn to create an internal safety that I now bring into the world so I can feel safe everywhere I go instead of hoping the world makes me feel safe. Right. And that's what I think most of it for. It's like, well, if the world can make us feel safe, then I'm okay. Well, what if the world's not going to make you feel safe? What if the people in your family don't make you feel safe? Well, you got to learn how to build that resilience, like you said, in order to keep our own safety, to keep our own intuition pure, to trust our own self, to make the bold moves, to make the courageous acts, to speak the truth that we need to do in order to live fearlessly.
Yes, that's so true. Thank you so much. So it comes from within, the freedom and also the safety you talked about. It's the choice, we can work on that, but what you witnessed is also it saved you, or it protected you, let's say, and then you found out it's not what you were looking for because the fear was still there. And then you talked about the wheel of, is it the wheel of fear?
It's the wheel of fear,
Um,
and the wheel of freedom.
oh, I love that because I saw it on your YouTube channel. Yes.
Yeah, you wheel of fear and wheel of freedom. So when we're acting out of our fear, we're running on the wheel of fear, right? And so then I teach people what their unique fear is because everybody has a unique wheel of fear. We all operate the same, but it's different for me and you because you have a different history than I do. You have a different genealogical pool than I do, et cetera, et cetera. So you're going to have different fears activated than I am. And we also have the same mechanism called the wheel of freedom, but yours will be different than mine as well, because what will set you free may be different than what sets me free. So once we start understanding how the wheel of fear works, right, how it actually works, it has four components, but once we understand the components and how it actually works, then we have choice every minute because now we're shining a light on, wait a minute, that's a fear based choice. Wait a minute. I didn't think that was fear based, but now that I see it on my wheel of fear, aha, I see it. And then we can make the conscious choice of moving on to the wheel of freedom and reclaiming those parts of ourselves that we've hidden or lost or ignored because we were afraid. Now we can bring them up to the surface and contain our and bring back our wholeness.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. And I was thinking about, let's talk about an example. Maybe we can do this because I think yes, you thought about looking through the lens of fear or freedom and then make a choice. For example, people are, you receive a message from a friend, and of course you have a, like, let's say, like a judgment or an expectation what it would be like about, let's say, a voice message, and you don't know yet what it is, but you have a feeling. So you can react out of, I would say, fear when you think you have to listen to it immediately, or
That's
you
right.
have to help that person because you
That's
are a
right.
people pleaser, for example.
Or
Is
they're a
this?
burden, right? Or they're a burden, right? Like, oh,
Mm.
why are they calling me? Right? So we have all these expectations instead of actually listening to the message and seeing actually what it is. So when we're acting from our past perceptions, when we're acting from those expectations, and again, just like you said earlier, we build evidence to make those true, right? So the whiny friend is always the whiny friend because we can point out all the places that friend is whiny, right? Or that person is judgmental, or that person is stealing our energy. We can prove all of those things. Well, okay, prove it all you want, and it actually may be true for that person. That person may be a whiny person. But your response to that person, how you show up on that answering that message, listening even to the message, determines your ability to stay centered in yourself. So if they're whiny, you got plenty of proof. Let's say the message is whiny and complaining and judging. You, on the other hand, can stay in your freedom and go, wow, if somebody's doing that, if somebody's whining, complaining, judging, being a downer, trust me, they're afraid. They've got some fear. So then how can you be a place that they can transform, that they don't have to be judged, that they don't have to be dismissed, to which of course increases their fear even more. So how can you not make them your problem, i.e., or make them your burden, or make them treat them the way that they're afraid that they really are, and instead treat them as a neutral being and really just go, how would I treat them if I knew they were afraid? If they were whiny and I said instead, well, they're afraid, that's why they're whiny. Oh, they're afraid, that's why they're, asking me all the time for help, or it creates a level of compassion, and it also creates more choice for you. It creates more choice for you and more choice for them, because when you don't treat them the same way that you've always treated them, they have a sliver of an opening to change too. But because we continuously put people in the boxes, well, she's whiny, make her whiny, treat her as if she's whiny, then that person is locked in the box, and you're helping them lock them in the box. So the minute we label somebody a certain way, judge them a certain way, and treat them as if they are that way, then there's no way out in that relationship with you, because they don't have an opening, because you've already placed a title on them, a label on them, a judgment on them. So then you're going to treat them as if that's true, even if they maybe don't even show up that way. You're just going to treat them, and then they don't have an opportunity with you, and you don't have an opportunity to shift the relationship and change it. So we keep ourselves in boxes, and we keep other people in boxes all day long. Does that make sense?
Wow, what a great answer. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad that I asked, because this is really, so once you become aware of that, of the wheel of fear, or that it is fear-based or freedom-based, and then there is another way, then you can make new choices as well. And maybe between the two worlds, you start avoiding replying to messages, or you start to remove them from your circle.
Or you start loving them, or you start loving them. There's this whole thing about toxic people. And again, are there toxic people? Of course there's toxic people. But many of the toxic people are labeled toxic because the person who's labeling them that doesn't know how to handle them, doesn't know how to put boundaries up, doesn't know how to take care of themselves, doesn't know how to say yes or no, doesn't know how to speak up. And so instead of learning the skills that you must, you label them toxic so you don't have to deal with them. But you're the one not learning the skills. So I just see this over and over and over again. Oh, that person is toxic. Why? Because they're complaining, because they're judging, because they're scared. Really? 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 Now, again, are there toxic people? Of course. Abusive, trauma driven, right? Wanting to keep you down, people in active addictions, etc. But most of the time, what we label toxic, or what we want to label toxic, just points out where we are unskilled, where we are unable to actually stay in our power, stay in our truth, stay in our freedom, while in a conversation or in a relationship with somebody, and take care of ourselves. So we label them toxic so we can get rid of them. It's like, really? I don't think that's what we want to do. If we want to have open hearts, open minds, and really create a community and connection, which is our core need as human beings, then calling everybody toxic just makes your community smaller and smaller, but also creates a wall around you with all the other people that call everybody else toxic. And then you guys snicker inside and think you're all evolved when in fact, you are the ones in fear. So we want to always examine ourselves and check our perceptions and go, well, wait a minute, what is it I'm refusing to learn? What is it that I'm making easy by labeling and judging somebody else? Instead of what skill do I need to learn? Do I need to learn how to put boundaries up? Do I need to learn how to say that doesn't feel good to me when you say that? Do I have to learn to go, wow, that hurt? Do I have to learn how to say, I'm not ready today. I don't really want to get together. Do we have to learn to say no? Yeah, we have to learn all those things. But again, most people, many people, I should say, don't want to learn those things and instead just call the person toxic and give them, and then go, they're just so toxic. It's like, I don't think so. I don't think so at all.
Yes, that's so true what you said. Thank you for reminding me. Staying in our truth and freedom is so important. And
Yes.
also, I witnessed through our conversation that I have to learn a lot. Thank you so much. Yes, of course, it was avoidance is not helping us. We have to face, first of all, recognize, becoming aware in order to change. Otherwise, nothing changes, right?
Yes. And then we get to
Mhm.
open our heart and we get to feel more love for ourselves and for others. And yeah, that person might be not as evolved, or that person may not be aware, and that person may be stumbling through life, and that person might keep failing, and that person might drink too much, and that person, right? But it's like, can you look at that person and go, wow, they're just struggling through life, but that doesn't make them a bad person, right? It doesn't make them toxic. It just makes them lost and afraid. Well, we've all been there. We've all been lost and afraid. I mean, the 20 years after my parents, I was lost and afraid. And thank God people didn't, everybody didn't write me off, right? Thank God somebody had the open-heartedness to go, oh, she just needs somebody to be there with her, right? Just to see her for who she really is rather than the labels that everybody puts on her. So this is the opportunity we have. So, one of the things that I always say is you have to be willing to be wrong. You have to be willing to be wrong about everything to find the right life for you. You have to be willing to go, well, what if I'm wrong about this? In order to find the truth, in order to find the right life for you.
Wow. What a great answer. You have to be willing to be wrong in order to find the truth. This is so true because these are two sides of one of the same thing.
Same coin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
same. Yes, thank you so much. Oh, I'm inspired now. And please tell us, where can we find you when people want to reach out to you after listening to this episode?
Fearlessliving.org, fearlessliving.org. And I'd love to give a gift. One of my clients' favorite tools is called Stretch, Risk, or Die. Stretch, Risk, or Die, and it helps you overcome procrastination. It helps you see how fear operates when you have a dream or a goal. And so go over to fearlessliving.org /risk, RISK, fearlessliving.org /risk, RISK. Put your name and email in, and you'll get access to the Stretch, Risk, or Die course. And in that course, it has 3 15-minute videos, really easy, super simple. And it has a workbook and it has worksheets so you can really apply it. And then in the third video, I actually talk about the wheel of fear. So you can actually see the wheel of fear in motion. So you can get a little bit more knowledge about that. So go to fearlessliving.org /risk, RISK, and grab that free course.
Oh, thank you so much. I will test it, so to say, not test it, I apply it because yeah, there's no test situation. It's always real life, right? I'm
That's
so
right.
grateful. Thank you so much. I put the links in the show notes, of course, and I have another question for you. It's about your goals and intentions. Do you set goals for yourself? And what is one of your next projects?
Ah, well, I set yearly intentions. I also have a yearly word. And my intentions in the world of fearless living are probably a little bit different than most people's intentions. My intention is when I create an intention is today I'm willing to practice. And so it keeps you in the human form rather than in the airy fairy world, but really like, how can I apply this? So yes, I have intentions. And inside of those intentions, I do have goals. And the project that I'm working on, which is one of the things about my intention and goals, is I am actually creating a new certification for coaches, therapists, personal development leaders. I'm really excited. So I right now have a certified fearless living coach certification. You can become a certified coach with me. It's a 9-month program. I consider it the Ivy League of life coach training. And we are going to be creating, we're in the midst of it, going to launch it soon. We're creating a tool certification so you can learn 26 tools and 14 concepts and we have worksheets and have DIY kits and everything that you can actually apply the tools of fearless living to your own practice. So you can, whether you're a therapist, whether you're a coach, whether you're a leader, whether you're a wellness practitioner, whether you're into personal development and you want to apply it to yourself. So that's going to be launching in the next few months. I'm super excited. Oh, and one more thing, I'm also going to be starting a private podcast to share all the things I know about coaching because I've been doing it for 30 years and nobody talks about coaching like I do. So I'm going to actually start sharing everything I know with you.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing today with us. I'm so inspired now. Thank you for our interview. I follow you, of course. I want to know everything about what's coming up. We are connected. And now it's time for your final thoughts to the audience, please.
There's nothing wrong with you. It's just fear. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just fear. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just fear. And once you can see fear for what it is, it will no longer have a stranglehold on you.
I'm speechless now. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Be fearless.
And I see you in the next episode.